AUS TALK podcast. Learn English by listening.
Hi everyone, and welcome to AUS TALK, a podcast where you will be able to learn English while listening to fun stories. Okay, so for our very first episode, I'd like to welcome all of our English learners and of course anyone else that would like to listen just for fun. So what we're going to be reading today are some Reddit stories. So for those who don't know what Reddit stories are, they're stories that the public or really anyone can post. We have a lot of subreddits as well. So today's subreddit is AITAH, which is short for Am I the Asshole? So here we have our first story, which is titled AITAH, for sending my twin daughters to separate schools. So it starts off by saying, I, 38 male, am the father of two girls, Elsa, 5 female, and Anna, 5 female. They're physically identical to the point where even my parents get them mixed up when we visit. And my wife's parents just call them the twins. This is extremely frustrating for me, and I don't think it's healthy for them. There are so many people where we live who see two girls with similar features and decide that makes them the same person, which they are not. And I'm beyond sick of it. I'm sick of getting two of everything at Christmas and birthdays, even though they have drastically different interests and personalities and styles. I'm sick of hearing how they're creepy or look like dolls, or having my daughters referred to as a set. So at their pre-K, the teachers always kept them together and often called them the wrong names, which apparently led to some critical information being attributed to the wrong child. So I'm done with this. They're going into kindergarten in September and I'm enrolling them in different schools. They're both private Catholic schools, similar price range, similar prestige, as much as a kindergarten can have prestige, of course. Elsa has a longer commute in the morning than Anna, but that's the only major inequality here. And honestly, I think the extra 15 minutes in the car is worth it in order to have my daughters each recognized as individuals at school. If they're not in the same class, teachers don't know them both, students don't know them both, then my girls will each get the same individual attention as any other kid rather than half. My wife thinks I'm setting them up for resentment if one school turns out better than the other, and that I'm being unfair to Elsa by having her commute for a little bit longer. I let my daughters choose which school each want to go to, and Elsa chose hers because there's birds on the logo. I get that ideally it would be great to send our kids to the same school, but I also genuinely believe that giving them this experience apart from one another is crucial for their social and emotional development into emotionally stable adults. Okay, so to conclude this, what do you think about that story on Reddit? Do you think that it's a good thing that he wants to send his two twin daughters to different schools? Or, yeah, of course you can comment or add what you think about this story. So here I was scrolling down a little bit and I saw some comments that were quite popular actually. So this is from informal. Okay, so these are actually some comments. When you read Reddit or you go through it, you can also leave like what you think about the story, your own experiences, etc. Okay, so this is from informal. As someone with a twin sister myself, I totally get where you are coming from. My sister and I were regularly called the twins or called by the wrong names. Seen as a set, always had both of us included. So this led to major issues in the differential process. When we started wanting to be individuals, we also had a hard time learning how to create social bonds as teenagers/adults. Thankfully, my school was clever enough not to put us in the same classroom. There were tensions because of unequal amount of homework and friendships, etc. But compared to the times people would confuse us and not see us as individuals, it was preferable. So there is no right or wrong answer, but it's definitely healthy to give them some space. Although it might not always be easy, be prepared for negative jealousy, yeah, of course, and comparisons, because people will compare them anyway. There are a whole branch of psychology specialists who issue twins face, or what they face, if you're interested. Okay, and added judgment because I forgot NTA. Alright, so that was an interesting comment. And here I found another one. I'm expecting twins, someone's expecting twins, so I'm about to dive down this rabbit hole of twin psychology you mentioned. Oh, and here's another Reddit comment. I have twins, boy/girl, so they're not identical. They look nothing alike. People don't even know they were related. My daughter looks just like me, and my son looked exactly like his dad. Even with all that, once people knew they were twins, they became one entity. I intentionally put them in different classes because one wasn't talking because the other talked for him. It was bad if he did talk. His sister would run and translate, so you can never help with his speech. I was a daycare provider, and one of the kids called them by their name, but it was like one word. She never just called one name, even if she was talking to one. Example, pretending my son's name is Zachary and my daughter's name is Zachariah. She would call either of them Zachariah. Okay, so she would like combine the two names together and then just call both of them those names. So her other siblings started calling them that as well. It was very interesting. Okay, so let's get to our next story. AITAH, so that's a subreddit. The title is For What I Told My Mother-in-Law When She Asked to Be in the Delivery Room. So my husband, male 33, and I, female 30, were expecting a baby boy. We're barely catching up with preparations and getting everything together. His mother, kind of a busybody type, but can be helpful at times, invited us for dinner, and she said that she had an important request to make. She brought her request up at the dinner table and blatantly asked that she wanted to be in the delivery room with me when I gave birth. I was taken back by her request. I really thought it had something to do with a nursery or diaper brand. I said I was sorry, but only my mom and my husband will be there. She made a face, got quiet for a while, then brought it up again. She just kept pushing, saying that she was just as much a grandmother as my mother was. And she wanted to be there to support and get the opportunity to see her grandbaby's first moments. My husband also sided with her. I just stared at her and said, "It's alright, you can have the opportunity to be in the delivery room when it's your son who's giving birth." Everybody stopped eating and my mother-in-law left the table. My husband had got me up although I hadn't finished with my dinner, and he said that we should leave. In the car, he lost it on me, asking what brain cell made me think it was a good idea to tell his mum that. I told him his mum kept pushing after I I'd already given her an answer. Still, he said this was the most effed up thing he had heard me say. I replied that I was just frustrated and didn't mean to hurt her feelings and cause any issues. He argued that if I don't want any issues, I should stop making stuff difficult and just say yes to his mom's request. He then ranted about how it's his son too, and then said if his mom isn't allowed in there, then he won't be there as well. Now I don't know if he really meant this or just said it to hear out the moment that he was, pretty upset and fuming about it. He's been ignoring me when I try to talk to him and act like I'm not in the room. I think I might have gone too far and created tension by responding inappropriately. So AITAH.
Am I the asshole for telling my dad he cannot bring his mistress to our family reunion? I am 41. My parents, both 69, separated about 4 years ago. They were really good parents. I had a great childhood. My mom has always been kind of cold and hard to live with. My dad is also hard to talk to, so they had a lot of communication problems. My dad also had numerous times where he was either laid off, going back to school, or on disability for a chronic disease. My mom supported him through all of that, even though towards the end she resented all the time he was off work. Even though he mostly couldn't help it. My parents never really discussed divorce, and my dad brought up marriage counseling, and my mom was against it. She was perfectly fine just coexisting in the same house. My dad had a friend, Karen, that he had known since childhood. She was even in my parents' wedding. He lost touch with her until about 15 years ago. He would send her emails and meet up with her occasionally for lunch. He lied to my mom about where he was going because he thought she would get upset he was having lunch alone with another woman. And in all fairness, she probably would have. My mom eventually found out after him lying to her for 10 years about these lunches. He always left his email up on their shared computer, and she happened to see a bunch of emails between them. Karen was also married, and she was miserable with her husband. She and my dad would mostly commiserate about their spouses. Some emails were flirty, but mostly just said a lot of hurtful things about my mom. My mom confronted my dad, and he admitted it, but said everything was innocent. In the end, we don't think their relationship was ever physical, but my mom definitely saw it as an emotional affair. She felt betrayed that she had been through so much with him, and he would just go behind her back to trash talk her to some woman and lie about it for 10 years. My parents ended up separating and then divorcing 3 years later. During those 3 years, my dad's relationship with Karen did turn physical. Fast forward to today, me and my sister don't want anything to do with her. While my parents are ultimately responsible for their divorce, she played a part in it. Our dad's side of the family is having a reunion this weekend. He wants to bring Karen. Me and my sister told him no, and that it was hurtful of him to ask. Mind you, this woman is still married and her husband knows about it, but he is sick and relies on her help. To add, I'm the planner of the reunion. It wouldn't have happened if not for me. Am I the asshole for telling my dad he can't bring her? Here are some comments from the other readers. No, you're not the asshole. She's a homewrecker. She should understand that the children of the home she wrecked don't want her around. No, you're not the asshole. She ruined that for you and your sister. No, you are not, again, the asshole. It's a family reunion. She's not family. He's the man with whom she's currently cheating. Low class.
Okay, so that was our last podcast for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And make sure you stay tuned for tomorrow's podcast, which will be Reddit Talks that are all about horror stories. All right, thank you so much and see you tomorrow.